First of all, I'd like to express our thoughts go to those that are recovering from the collisions and their families. So the first one, these all occurred within a 30-day period. The first one occurred on November 13th. If you recall, this was at about 6:30 p.m. at 162nd and Burnside, which is on the blue line. This was a westbound train approaching the platform when a pedestrian stepped into the path of the train against a red traffic signal, and there's also a pedestrian signal at this location. The intersection is also controlled by additional visual and audible warning devices that warn of the approach of a train. That pedestrian remains hospitalized. The investigation has been completed, and we are submitting our report to ODOT for their review and submittal. So something that you may not be aware of is that any collision that is of a major importance on the involving the Max line, we are obligated to conduct an investigation and then submit a report to ODOT. They review the report, and then they approve the report. So that is being put together and sent to ODOT for their approval. The second one occurred on November 14th. At about 6:42 a.m., a pedestrian stepped into the path of a bus. This is not a rail-related one. This was at Southeast 51st and Southeast Division. The bus was heading eastbound on Southeast Division at the time. This is an uncontrolled intersection, and there is no marked crosswalk. That particular investigation is still ongoing. We have not come to any conclusions, and we're still working with the traffic division on that. However, the pedestrian was released from hospital care and now has been transferred to a long-term care facility. The third incident occurred on November 16th. This was at 9:13 a.m. at Northwest 170th, and this is the Elmonica station out in Beaverton. The train was approaching the Elmonica station when a woman ran into the path of the train. This crossing has both an audible and visual warning device to alert pedestrians of the approach of the train. The condition of that person remains serious, and she continues to receive medical care. As far as I know, she's still being hospitalized. That investigation also has been completed, and a report will be submitted to ODOT for their review and approval. The last incident was on November 29th, and this occurred at approximately 2 p.m. when the Max train made contact with a trespasser about 400 feet south of the Bybee platform. What is unique about this area is this is a restricted area. There are 6-foot fences on both the east and west side of the trackway. No automobile or pedestrian traffic is permitted in this area. Only trains are allowed in that area. And trains do run high speed in that area. Out of respect for the family, we've been asked not to provide any details of the incident itself. The medical examiner has not released any information regarding the collision. Unfortunately, that was a fatality. That investigation also has been completed, and a report will be submitted to ODOT for their review and approval. Lastly, I'd like to say that we are re-evaluating our public outreach program and intensifying our message to the public. And that is to really take a moment to stop and look both ways before crossing, whether it be Max tracks or the street. And in each one of these circumstances, we always evaluate what is it that Trimet can do better. And that will be reflected in our reports to ODOT. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Shelley, who will explain the process that we engage in to help our operators when they're involved in these types of situations.
Good morning. There is no question that the type of incidents that Harry describes are not only devastating for the families and for the communities, they are devastating for the operators who are involved, and they take a toll on each of us who are called upon to respond to these incidents. How we handle the aftermath is very important to the well-being of our employees. When we have a critical incident or a very severe collision, we get to the scene and immediately make contact with the employee. Our first objective is to support them and pull them away from the incident themselves and shelter them till the police can finish their investigation, do what they need to do. We get them back to their home base, their operating garage, where they can have some quiet time with a manager who will meet with them. Doesn't matter what time of the day that is, we will meet with them, make contact with them. And during that conversation, we're assessing how are they holding up, giving them the opportunity to actually talk about the incident. We know that in order for people to process what they've been through, it's important for them to talk about that. And those meetings aren't, our goal when we're having them isn't any kind of a got you moment. It's to give them the opportunity to just let out that emotion that they're feeling and talk about the incident. When we finish those conversations, we connect them with our counseling service we have on call, give them contact numbers. Those conversations between the counselor and the employee are completely private. The manager sets up a time that they'll have a check back conversation, generally the next day, but also gives them their phone number and lets them know they can call 24 hours a day. It does not matter to us. Our goal is to help them through a challenging time. In the event the counseling that they're getting and the conversations we're having with them aren't enough, we have two psychologists that we work closely with through our workers' compensation program who they understand us, they know our business, they've worked with a number of our operators and our supervisory staff, and they help work on their processing of this very difficult situation and help them understand what they can expect, because it's not a straight line from the collision back to work sometimes. When the employee's ready, and each case is different, we develop a process to return them back into the work environment. That can be different for everyone. That can sometimes be that the employee wants to just ride in a cab with somebody on a train. It can be that the manager will go out and ride with the employee out of service and take them back to the site. Sometimes we have to find different work for them. It's all about when they're ready to return to the scene of the collision. Every strategy is different, it's unique, and it's never easy. And it's not just about the employee. We also, many of us have responded to these scenes a number of times, and you never know which one is going to be the one that is difficult for the individual to process. So we're also watching our team members. You know, how are you holding up? Making a call to them saying that was a tough incident we were at. You're not immune to the challenges that we face. How can I support you? And that's how we process, and it's very difficult. And if you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to answer them.